All right, I don't want to take forever, so let's just jump into this. Right now, I'm just going to test out something for you guys that I've seen kind of mentioned in a video that I didn't like. And basically, it was just talking about the chem launcher. What they were saying is that the Firestarter chem launcher causes explosive damage. So in this video, or in this part of the video, I basically tested out two different masks. One was a China Light and the other one was a Wyvernware. Basically what would end up happening is I would gain 15% explosive damage from the China Light, and you could basically see it in the damage if it worked. And you can see here that without the China Light, I did 765k damage. Now, when I put on the China Light, I get, I lose 1% skill damage, but I gain basically 15% explosive damage. So if it worked, I should get a huge increase, right? Well, pretty much what I saw was something that I already posted in a previous video a while ago, that the Firestarter chem launcher does not cause explosive damage. Now, to test this, again, on a regular target myself, I basically put on explosive resistance gear, and I ended up getting a total of about 68%. So 68% explosive resistance. And, if my skills are doing about 300k, you could definitely see, that difference in an actual target. So testing it on myself, testing the Firestarter chem launcher, and, surprise, it really did not do anything. So again, another way just to prove that the Firestarter chem launcher does not deal explosive damage. And just to add in a little bit extra detail, I'm looking at the Airburst Seeker Mine, and you can see here I've got roughly 300k damage in PvP. So again, you should be able to see any actual reduction in the damage that is done here. But no, it is roughly doing 1/3 of my armor bar. And in fact, the biggest danger with this Airburst Seeker Mine was actually the burn damage, and I did think I was actually going to kill myself here. And I probably would have if I didn't get that medkit off. What is the point of this? Well, the point is, if someone's telling you that something in this game does something that it's not true, well, you know what? What is the point of watching them? If they can't get their facts right and they can't, admit their mistakes at least, or, come out with a correction of some sort, what is the point of actually paying attention to that person? Second thing, and I kind of want to stress this: if you're not actually investing into hazard protection or explosive resistance with armor, the benefits are pretty much useless. I mean, yeah, you can get a good amount of reduction on something like a Seeker Mine or a Sticky Bomb, but a lot of those effects that they do, like the burn from the one Sticky Bomb, or the bleed, or just fire in general or bleed in general, those do a lot of damage to you. And the skills themselves do a lot of damage. So unless you're stacking all of this stuff in the top 70% range, or just having massive amounts of armor, this stuff isn't going to help you. You need to basically invest fully into this blue, mindset if you actually want to see returns on this stuff, because that's the only real way that you can actually stay alive by being hit by some of these massive damage skills. The Firestarter chem launcher does a lot of damage with just the base damage that it does, and then the burn that it does is a lot of the times what actually ends up killing a player. All right, so what I'm basically doing right now is I'm just going through my gear, trying to find usable replacements for that build. So basically, I'm just changing it out from explosive resistance skill build to a hazard protection skill tier build. So that way I can keep the damage more or less the same, the armor more or less the same, and basically just show you how much different the effects are. Now, just to basically break it down easily for you, explosive resistance is kind of useless in this patch. And I mean, just being honest here, I mean, unless you are stacking into full super blue build, I mean, just having explosive resistance isn't going to do anything for you. I mean, you're probably still going to take massive amounts of damage from status effects. Just like if you invest, basically just solely into hazard protection on a full red roll, you're pretty much just going to get dropped just from the skills alone. So a lot of these benefits are basically tied to actually having the armor to survive these initial effects. And in the current system, that's a very, very difficult thing to actually achieve. It's really hard to actually go in and get these kinds of bonuses that are really beneficial to you. I mean, it's basically why if you are a red build, you invest into red stats. If you are a yellow build, you invest into yellow stats. And if you are a blue build, you invest into blue stats, because they don't synergize with each other in kind of that cross compatibility type way. You don't want to have a lot of these. Now, I mean, there are some exceptions. Like, obviously, skill haste is a very good thing to invest into because none of the skills really have any skill haste native to them. So to get the lowest cooldowns, you basically just need 6 pieces of the skill haste and maybe 3 mods for skill haste. And that'll give you a huge return on investment. But if you don't have any, actual armor to sustain, a lot of this skill damage, because most skills do multiple types of damage to them, like the Airburst Seeker Mine. It does the basic exotic fire damage, and then it also does the burn damage. And that's the same thing for like the flame turret or for the Firestarter chem launcher. They do an exotic damage, and then they do a burn damage. And for the Stinger Hive, again, last time I tested it, which was back in I think like 1.6 or 1.5. It actually did explosive damage to you. So if you are trying to fight the hive, you're going to need explosive resistance, and you're going to need bleed resistance or hazard protection itself, which is a very, very difficult thing to try to combine into one single build in an effective manner. Now, the build that I'm actually using right here is kind of a combination. It's a hodgepodge. I'm still testing it out, but it actually works for its intended purposes. And that purpose is basically just to push up into the enemy, especially in PvP. I mean, mostly this is just a PvP build because obviously you really don't need hazard protection or explosive resistance that much in PvE. Now, there are some certain circumstances where it would be useful, but just the lack of build diversity kind of kills the need for it, right? You definitely need to put out more damage than you can, and you definitely need some other form of survivability and some form of crowd control. Basically, they're more important than this little bit of protection that you can get for the amount of investment that you need to put into it. But going over this build real quick, I am using a pestilence, and that just gives me a little bit more damage just from the ticks alone. So that can really help kind of drive players nuts, right? This constant little tick showing up on their screen. They don't know where it's coming from. They don't know where they're being shot from, and that's beneficial to me. Then I'm obviously rocking the Baker's Dozen. Now, I love the M1A. It's pretty much one of my favorite rifles since this game started. So even though it's a little bit OP at the moment, I still, I don't care. That's one of my favorite rifles. I'm not using it because meta. I'm using it because I've liked it and I've used it. For my sidearm, I am using the backup boomstick. Obviously, I've got really good rolls on this one. Shotgun damage and damaged armor are maxed out. So I'd probably put out of cover damage on the tribute roll, but I haven't quite decided what I want to actually do with it, or if I just want to change out the talent. So that's something I'm working on internally. But this is going to be probably my main weapon that I use, and it's very effective even with its damage reduction in PvP. It's really effective on full skill builds, which this is kind of designed to fight against. This is designed to push up into the enemy, get past all the status effect stuff like the hive, and basically just attack the skill builds directly. Now, looking at my mask, you can see I've got 10% hazard protection. I've got a little bit of status effect, and that's basically for my EMP that I use. And then of course I've got a burn resistance mod on there. Now for my backpack, I'm using a Cheska Varoba, and obviously I've got hazard protection. I've got a little bit of explosive resistance, 15% weapon damage. I've got a bleed resistance mod on there. Now the talent kind of sucks, so I'm not really going to talk about that one. Now for my gloves, I am using another piece of 511, max armor, max skill haste, max hazard protection. For my chest piece, I am using another Cheska Varoba. This one's got 12% weapon damage. It's got 9.8 hazard protection. The health roll, whatever, I'll take it, I guess. It's got disrupt resistance mod on there, and I'm using Vanguard. So whenever I deploy my shield, basically, it's invulnerable for 5 seconds, and I'm giving my team, basically 500,000 armor. And then moving into my holster, I am using Y'all with 10% hazard protection and crit chance. The armor roll is a little bit low, but you know what? I'm having a lot of trouble get Y'all gear. I mean, it's been hours in the DZ and I can't get anything. For my knee pads, I am using another 511, and this one, again, crappy armor roll. It's got some health regeneration, but it does have hazard protection on it. Now, I am using 3 pieces of the 511, and that is basically because I get, the health, the incoming repairs, which helps any healer on my team, but I'm also getting that additional 10% hazard protection from the 3-piece. Now, that is, just stacking on all of the hazard protection that I have on the build. Again, using the Cheska Varoba, I'm using 2 pieces, and that'll give me 10% crit chance, but it is also giving me, again, 10% hazard protection. So now I'm up to, 80%. And then, of course, I've got the y'all piece for an additional 10, and that'll give me 90. Basically, if I max everything out, 90% from that. Now you can see here, I've got 93.7% hazard protection, but with those mods, I've got 100% bleed, 100% burn, and 100% disrupt. So that way I can basically keep my shield up if I get disrupted. So that's fantastic for me. I've got pretty good health, 320k. That's mostly just from that 511, and then of course I've got 1.1 million armor. Not the greatest, definitely need some better rolls on some of that stuff, but I could probably get it up to 1.3 with a lot better rolls. And since I'm actually packing a little bit of damage, I think that's pretty good, especially with that shield bonus that I'm giving to everyone. So I think that comes in handy. Now you can see here on my shield, I've got 11.5 million health on my shield, which again, very good. I have 100% disruption, so again, I am not really having to worry about jumping into the fight and then having them disrupt me. In fact, it's actually probably a surprise if my shield does not go down because of it. And again, another little bit of bonus surprise for the enemy. Now I am using the jammer. Obviously my cooldown's a little bit low, but it's still good enough because I'm designed to basically push into the enemy and disrupt all those skills to basically clear it out for my team, which just allows us an easier time of actually bringing the fight to the enemy instead of kind of playing by the rules that they want. But yeah, like I said, this build is probably not for everyone. It is not, the heaviest damage build. It is not the greatest skill build. It is designed to basically fight a team that is just trying to hide and cover or try to, hide in a defensive position and just throw skills and basically keep you from getting to them. So I can, end up pushing into them, giving my team, that armor buff, disrupting all of their skills and basically stopping any of their status effects for that, period of time, just to basically push into them. But that's the build I'm working on. I'm mostly just making it as a distraction for my team, and that's pretty much it. It's not the greatest, and it's not ideal, and I don't like the system that they have, currently for, the attributes and the skill tier and everything. And I've told you guys, I don't like it. I think it's terrible. It's poorly done, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are actually seeing that now, but, whatever. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.